paradise of Montecarlo, the most glamorous Grand Prix of the calendar, the 1983 Monaco Grand Prix, 76 laps, 1,400 corners, 2,000 gear changes in this tight little circuit which winds up and down hill through the very streets of the little Principality of Monaco. But no millionaire's paradise weather, it's raining here. That's René Arnoux' Ferrari on the grid, getting its dry weather slick tyres being changed for wet weather tyres. And although the rain now looks as though it's stopping, the track is still extremely wet. We learn from the starting grid that Keke Rosberg is going to gamble on the road drying out. He's going to start on dry weather tyres, so is his teammate Jacques Laffite. But the turbos of Renault and Ferrari and Brabham are all going to start on the deeply treaded wet weather tyres because the circuit is just, in their driver's view, too slippery to go for the dries. The wet weather tyres, of course, if the road does dry out, will overheat and will not last the distance. So quite a gamble that Rosberg has taken. He has the power disadvantage of being a non-turbocharged car. Back on row 3 of the grid, he is the fastest non-turbocharged car. Only 20 starters here at Montecarlo because of the narrowness of the road. And that means, sadly, that neither McLaren has qualified, neither Niki Lauda nor John Watson, after troubles in practice on Thursday and then a very wet qualifying session on Saturday which didn't allow them to improve. Neither of the McLarens in the race. An enormous crowd on the yachts, hanging from the balconies, hanging from the trees, about 80,000 people here. Roger Moore, James Bond of film fame, has just done a lap of honour with Jackie Stewart. Lots of glittering personalities. Prince Rainier is in the royal box. The lights are ready to go red then green, and that will be the start with Alain Prost and René Arnoux on the front row in Renault and Ferrari respectively. Renault and Ferrari for Cheever and Tambay on the second row. The lights are red, 76 laps. There's the green. And it's the Renaults that move away. A superb start for Prost. But look at Rosberg coming through. Rosberg has come storming through the inside. And already Keke Rosberg in the Williams from the third row of the grid is in second place through the tight chicane at Saint-Avote. Everybody seems to be through. A little bit of bumping at the back of the field, but up the hill, past Rosie's Bar, twisting up into Casino Square. It's Alain Prost Renault leading from Keke Rosberg, who's made this extraordinary start. Cheever is third in the Renault, then the two Ferraris of Tambay and Arnoux. Then it's one of the Alphas up there too. Rosberg down the inside into Mirabeau, keeping into contact with the leading Renault of Alain Prost. Now the very tight station hairpin downhill into Portière and onto the seafront under the new motorway bridge, and now they've got the tunnel ahead of them where the road will briefly be dry. They go out of the light into the semi-darkness of the tunnel. Prost, Rosberg, Cheever, Tambay, Arnoux, De Cesaris, out of the tunnel, down the hill again, into the chicane. Prost leads for Renault, Rosberg is second, and that road is wet and slippery. The two Ferraris chasing Eddie Cheever. Now it's through to back into the new swimming pool complex, and Rosberg is getting closer to Prost. Rosberg putting the pressure on Prost as they go round the swimming pool and on the short straight that leads into the very tight right-hand hairpin round the Rascasse restaurant. There it is, bottom gear, taking a tight line out of Rascasse up to the final gasworks hairpin which leads them onto the start-finish straight once more. Cheever is third. And Arnoux has come into fourth place ahead of Tambay after his rather tardy start. That's Pique's Brabham briefly there down in the traffic. And already the two leaders have gone through, and look at Arnoux coming through for third place. Arnoux elbows his way through, but Cheever fights back. Ferrari versus Renault up the hill, they're absolutely side by side, and Cheever has gone ahead again. Cheever retakes third place. The two Ferraris, fourth and fifth of Arnoux and Tambay. Still the leader, Alain Prost, from Keke Rosberg, and Rosberg is challenging, but this is the battle for third place. Through the Casino Square, out of Casino Square, down the hill to the Mirabeau. Once again, Arnoux looks at the inside, and the news from the other side of the circuit is that Keke Rosberg has taken the lead. That's Nigel Mansell off. Nigel Mansell off. I think he has collided with another car, but Mansell out of the race with the Cosworth-powered Lotus, and we have a new leader, which is Keke Rosberg. This is the battle for third place once more, and still Eddie Cheever in the second Renault has third place, so Renault second and third, but Keke Rosberg on dry weather tyres is out in front. The third place battle coming down into the chicane for the second time. Eddie Cheever, the American driver who lives in Italy, under the strongest possible pressure into to back from Arnoux, Tambay, De Cesaris, Laffite. And remember, this is the battle for third place because the leaders, there is the second place man at the bottom of your picture there. That is Cheever now in third place. You just saw a glimpse of the second place man, Alain Prost, but our leader is out in front now and absolutely running away with this race, and that's Keke Rosberg, the world champion, carrying number one on the Williams. So can this mean that the gamble of starting on dry weather tyres, which the two Williams drivers have taken, is the correct one? Derek Warwick, we understand, also started on dry weather tyres, but you see that road is definitely wet. It's still very slippery out there. Rosberg, the leader, Alain Prost in second place, Cheever still third from Arnoux' Ferrari and Tambay's Ferrari, and that's Arnoux, number 28, challenging for third place. I think that the Monaco director, the television director here, hasn't realised that this isn't the battle for the lead, because Rosberg is walking away with it in the front. Through the Mirabeau hairpin, down towards the gaswork, the old station hairpin, I should say. And still these two Ferraris and the Alfa and Jacques Laffite stuck in behind the third place Renault of Eddie Cheever. And we have the leader. There he is. That is Keke Rosberg out in front. This is the third lap. And Prost is losing grip. Prost is losing touch. And plenty of grip is what Keke Rosberg seems to have on this wet, slippery circuit. He bounced across the curb then. He touched the curb quite hard. So obviously he's got his hands very, very full with this slickshod Williams on this slippery circuit. And you need great accuracy here at Montecarlo. No runoff areas. If you put the wheel slightly wrong, you're into the barriers, you've torn a wheel off. That's Prost in second place. So completing 3 laps, starting his fourth of 76, and Rosberg is running away with this race into Sainte-Avote. Second gear, up the hill. There is Prost in second place, and these two have pulled well away from Eddie Cheever, who is still third, with the two Ferraris breathing down his neck of Arnoux and Tambay. The Casino Square, over the bump, down the hill past the tip-top bar, and look at Rosberg taking a very, very tight line into Mirabeau. That's interesting. That is obviously where he finds the grip. He's keeping off the rubbery line where everybody else is going. A little twitch as he comes out of the old station hairpin there. Down the hill, whoops, slithering around onto the tunnel section. And what a drive this is by Rosberg, because that car must be very, very difficult to control on this still slippery circuit. But as we look up above, it's still overcast, it's still cloudy, but the umbrellas have been put away. It's not actually raining anymore. So Rosberg should be able to find the road getting drier and drier on his slick tyres. But I'm sure nobody expected him to take the lead while the road was still wet. Alain Prost in second place, round the swimming pool. And as we look back for third place man, I think that one of the Ferraris, it is indeed René Arnoux, who has gone past Cheever into third place. Arnoux is now third, and looking on down the field, Jacques Laffite, also on dry weather tyres, remember, Laffite has come through into fourth place. In fifth place now, Eddie Cheever. Sixth place is Patrick Tambay. Seventh is Elio De Angelis in the Alfa. So dry tyres, clearly the latest Goodyear tyres seem to be working. That's Raoul Boesel in the barrier. Raoul Boesel has parked very heavily in the barrier with the Ligier, and I think that incident also involved the ATS of Winkelhock, but this is in the pits, Nelson Pique. Pique has decided that dry tyres are what he needs. Off come the wet weather tyres, on go the dry weather tyres, and away goes Nelson Pique. So already Pique has decided that the slick tyres that Keke Rosberg has opted for are the right equipment, and I think that that is the first of many tyre stops that we're going to see here at Montecarlo. This is lap 5, out of the tunnel, down through the chicane, from 5th to 4th to 3rd gear, clip the first apex, clip the second, avoid the barriers, and off down towards Tambay goes Keke Rosberg. Very, very hard work indeed, this race. Constant corners, great concentration needed. And it's worth pointing out here that Keke Rosberg is not at all well. He's been suffering from hepatitis, and that, for anybody who's had it, will know hepatitis, a very, very exhausting disease indeed. And that's Jacques Laffite up there in 4th place, and Laffite is hounding René Arnoux for 3rd. René Arnoux in the red Ferrari is 3rd. Jacques Laffite, Keke Rosberg's teammate in the Williams, is 4th. And as they go down into Rascasse, Laffite very, very close to the Ferrari and looking to take this 3rd place into the old gasworks hairpin. Off down the start-finish straight to complete 5 laps. Rosberg well out in front. Prost losing touch in 2nd place. And this is the battle for 3rd into Saint-Devote. Arnoux Ferrari, Laffite Williams. The Frenchman in the Italian car, the Frenchman in the British car, up the hill, past Rose's Bar, over the brow, into the Casino Square. And Laffite looking very, very confident in the Williams. Down the hill, over the bump, past the tip-top bar, and Laffite is on the inside. Laffite's having a little look. His car quivers under braking. He can't get through. Nowhere to go, and this is the old Monte Carlo problem, of course. That's another pit stop. That's Patrese. Patrese on to dry weather tyres now. So both the Brabhams have changed. The Ferraris. Oh, and that's Arnoux off. Arnoux in the barriers, and he's punctured a tyre. René Arnoux off under pressure from Jacques Laffite, and he's trying to drive back to the pits. This is shades of Gilles Villeneuve, the late Gilles Villeneuve, because René Arnoux is not going to give up. He, I think, must have clouted a barrier there. He's got a punctured rear tyre, but René Arnoux is driving it at considerable speed. Back to the pits. That is Eddie Cheever coming through to pass him, and the rest of the battle all coming through. Cheever comes through. Tambay, number 29, that's Mark Surir going well in the arrows. Mark Surir has passed the Alpha, and that's Derek Warwick also storming up through. Derek Warwick in the blue Tolman. Oh, in a moment there, he's virtually on 3 wheels and a wheel rim, and he's still driving hard. There's not much left of that back tyre, or indeed the back wheel. Let's hope that the car itself hasn't become damaged. Bits flying off it. In fact, a whole chunk of the rear suspension, I think, came away there, and I don't think he's going to make it. He's coming up to the final hairpin before the pits. René Arnoux has almost made it to the pits, but he's not going to make it. What a gallant try. René Arnoux has finally come to a halt at the very entrance to the pit lane. In fact, it's just outside Rascasse. He's got about 150 yards to go to his own pit, but the marshals now have had to push him out of the way. And a hard try by René Arnoux. He was going very quickly on 3 wheels and a wheel rim there. A bit of a sideways moment at one stage. But the rest of the field have gone storming past him. And unless there's considerable work done to the back of that car, I think it's not just the rear wheel that's damaged. I think that the rear suspension must have taken a tremendous pounding too. In addition, of course, he's getting help from the marshals. There you see the order. Laffite then up into 2nd place now. Tambay is 3rd. Cheever is 4th in the Renault. Mark Surir up to 5th place with the arrows. And Derek Warwick is 6th with the Tolman. A wonderful performance by Derek Warwick, because this is his first Monaco Grand Prix. He's never qualified here before. And this is the leader coming through to lap one of the Brabhams, which has, of course, made the pit stops. For both the Brabhams have had pit stops for fresh tyres. So it's Patrese, in fact, who was the second of the 2 Brabhams to stop. and in front of him Jean-Pierre Jarier, the sole surviving Ligier, and Patrese is not letting the Williams pass, but now through the tunnel, Keke Rosberg, the leader, storming past. Remember that Patrese also is on dry weather tyres now, but nobody's going to stop Rosberg. Rosberg forcing his way to lap Riccardo Patrese. In front of him, also due to be lapped, Jean-Pierre Jarier in the Ligier. Round the swimming pool, and a big problem with lapping back markers here. And we've got one of the Renaults in. That must be Prost. It's not, it's Cheever. Cheever has stopped for dry weather tyres also. So little by little, they all seem to be coming in for dry weather tyres, to change their wet weather tyres to dry. No more rain at the moment, and although you see the circuit is still damp, they're all accepting that the sticky dry weather slicks that Keke Rosberg is using. Look at the road going up the hill. It's dry on one side where the cars have been running. It's still wet on the other. Jarier still holding his position and in fact delaying Keke Rosberg a little bit. Rosberg is going to have to go off the dry line and onto the wet if he's going to pass the Ligier. In fact, Rosberg raising his hand there as they came down the hill, giving an angry signal to Jarier, or perhaps he's telling the flag marshals he wants a bit more blue flag. Onto the waterfront, and that's René Arnoux. So the work done by the Ferrari mechanics all in vain. After that dramatic effort on 3 wheels and a wheel rim, René Arnoux has had to retire for good. Now, 13 laps completed. This is lap 14, and all the excitement now focusing on this battle because Derek Warwick has brought the Tolman up into 4th place. Behind him, the Turbo Renault of Prost and the Turbo Renault of Nelson Pique. Both of them have stopped to change onto slicks, but Derek Warwick holding his own in the Tolman, ahead of them in 4th place. Mark Surir is 3rd, also going excellently well in the Arrows. He has come all the way through, of course, on dry weather tyres. You just saw a glimpse of him going down to Portier there, but that 3-car battle for 4th place, with the very experienced Alain Prost doing everything he can to harry young Derek Warwick from Alresford in Hampshire into a mistake, and Nelson Pique biding his time behind the two of them. A former world champion and a man who looked as though he would have been a world champion last year, harrying a young comparative newcomer, the Turbo Tolman, and Derek Warwick having their first Monaco Grand Prix. Round the swimming pool, and Prost putting the pressure on Warwick now. This is the battle for 4th place, and still this road patchily damp, but all 3 of these cars now on slick dry weather tyres. All 3 of these cars turbocharged. Watch for the telltale puffs of flame from their exhausts as the drivers come off the throttle and unburnt fuel goes. Oh, and Prost's attacking! Prost attacking as they go up into Sainte-Devote. Puffs of flame from the back of the Tolman there, but Derek Warwick absolutely keeping his line. Little glance in the mirrors there as they go up the hill into Casino Square. Round the long left-hander that leads past the Hotel de Paris, out of Casino Square, over the bump. Warwick and the Tolman. Oh, and Pique coming through. Blue flag there. Pique having a little look at the inside of Prost as they came down the hill. Very, very slow. That tight downhill hairpin where the old station used to be. And that's Andrea de Cesaris we see coming into the pits. De Cesaris in the pits with the Alfa. So, is it a tyre change for him? No, it's not. In fact, his car already on slick tyres. De Cesaris, a shrug, and he's out of the car. And he's out. Still this battle for 4th place. Still Keke Rosberg, a comfortable leader now. Still Jacques Laffite, 28.7 seconds behind him in 2nd place. Mark Surir is 3rd, and Prost challenging for 4th. Once again, into Sainte-Devote. Prost challenges, he doesn't do it. Derek Warwick keeping his head, keeping his line, and at the back of this little trio, Nelson Pique, waiting to see how Prost will find his way past Derek Warwick. A tremendous drive by the young Englishman, and indeed a tremendous performance by the Turbo Tolman. through the station hairpin. Down towards Portier. That's Eddie Cheever now. Eddie Cheever, who's been demoted back to 7th place. Into the tunnel. Warwick 4th. Prost 5th. Pique 6th. And Prost apparently able to do absolutely nothing to get by Derek Warwick, so he's just trying to worry him into a mistake through the chicane, where Alan Jones worried Pique into a mistake not many years back. Round the swimming pool, and Alain Prost being cheered on by the pro-French crowd. They all want to see Prost move back up the field, and that is Eddie Cheever in the other Renault closing on this group now. Pique still 6th, and Eddie Cheever in 7th place. There he is in the second of the Renaults. Cheever catching on this trio, and Warwick's pulling away there. Warwick pulling away, and Cheever and Prost slowing briefly. Pique close to him in Saint-Devote that time. A little mistake by Prost somewhere perhaps. And Prost still being urged on by this crowd. Derek Warwick not able to relax as they go on down the hill. Puffs of flame as they go into Mirabeau from the exhausts. And that's Mauro Baldi's Alpha ahead of them that sooner or later Derek Warwick's going to have to lap. And all the time Eddie Cheever closing up to make it a 4-car battle for 4th place. Warwick, Prost, Renault number 15, Pique, Brabham number 5. And at the back, oh, and Pique's going through. Pique's trying to squeeze through as they go into the tunnel, overtaking inside the tunnel. Did he do it? Yes, he did. Nelson Pique has passed the Renault of Alain Prost absolutely in the tunnel. A tremendous manoeuvre there by Nelson Pique, and Prost clearly is in trouble. Prost now under pressure from his own teammate Eddie Cheever. The two Renaults, 6th and 7th. And now Pique has gone ahead into 5th, and Derek Warwick is looking, at the moment anyway, a slightly less threatened 4th. Still Mark Surir doing a wonderful job in 3rd place for Arrows. Still the two Williams lead the race. Keke Rosberg 1st, Jacques Laffite 2nd, and this is now lap 24 of the 76. The two Renaults together. Eddie Cheever in number 16 with the blue number, Alain Prost in number 15 with the red number, and Pique is 5th. Oh, and Cheever really looking for a way past his teammate. No doubt at all that Prost is losing some time now, and Derek Warwick is still there in 4th place with Nelson Pique closing the gap a little bit. Pique comes down the hill into the hairpin as Derek Warwick goes out of it and into Portier. And the Renault's so popular with this mainly French crowd, and the British among them. There are 2,000 British spectators here. It's Derek Warwick that they're cheering on in 4th place. Rosberg 1st, Laffite 2nd, Surir 3rd, Derek Warwick 4th, Nelson Pique 5th, and these two Renaults in 6th and 7th place, Prost and Cheever. Past the... oh, and that's Rosberg. That's Rosberg coming up now to lap the Renaults already. That gives you an indication of just how big Rosberg's lead is, as we've got the other Alpha, that's Mauro Baldi, keeping out of the way as the 3rd place battle laps Baldi, and Keke Rosberg is coming up to lap this battle. So Baldi about to be lapped for the 2nd time by the leader, Keke Rosberg. There you see Rosberg at the back of that shot coming into Saint-Devote as the battle for 4th place goes through Casino Square. 50 laps of the 76 to go. Down the hill through Mirabeau, once more into the station hairpin, and Nelson Pique now takes over the job that Alain Prost was doing a couple of laps ago, challenging Derek Warwick as the leader, Keke Rosberg, follows them down the hill. And Pique once more on this point where he passed Prost on inside the tunnel, a very, very brave place to pass. He had a little look there at Derek Warwick, but didn't make it. And a wonderfully mature drive this is from Warwick. Cheever sorely must go through. We've had a fastest lap from Patrick Tambay. Tambay, who's down in, I make Tambay on my lap chart in 9th place at the moment. But Tambay has had now a pit stop also. Tambay now on fresh dry with the tyres. But I think this is a very, very mature drive indeed from Derek Warwick. We've got a difficult surface, partly wet, partly dry. Warwick is driving under the strongest possible pressure, first from Alain Prost, then from Nelson Pique, and there Cheever has gone through. Eddie Cheever has passed Alain Prost, Renault has passed Renault. This is lap 29 now, and Eddie Cheever has passed the obviously troubled Alain Prost, clearly not happy with his car in some respect. Perhaps the handling isn't quite right after his tyre change. And as they go down the hill, Pique once more closes on Derek Warwick for 4th place. Still the first 3, as I gave you before. Keke Rosberg with an enormous lead. Rosberg getting on for a full minute. We're going to see once again the Renaults change places as over the start-finish line, Prost keeps over to the right of the road and through goes Eddie Cheever to take 6th place. And that's Jacques Laffite, number 2, in 2nd place. Number 1 is in the lead, that's Keke Rosberg. But this is Jacques Laffite, the Frenchman who joined the Williams team, who in fact rejoined the Williams team this year, because it was with Williams that Jacques Laffite made his Formula One debut many years ago now. And Jacques Laffite showing himself a worthy number 2 to the world champion Keke Rosberg by bringing his Williams into a strong 2nd place. Mark Surir on his own at the moment in 3rd place, but I see from my stopwatch that this wonderful 4th place battle that we've seen such a lot of, Derek Warwick, Nelson Pique, Alain Prost and now Eddie Cheever, all of those cars are closing on Mark Surir in 3rd place. So computing it, I think before the end of the race we could have all of that battle closing up as we see number 2, the dark green crash helmet of Frenchman Jacques Laffite into Casino Square. All the time, such accuracy is needed here at Montecarlo because the ever-present Armco barriers are right by the edge of the racing line. And here's our battle once again. And it's the Renault closing right up on the battle for 4th. That is Eddie Cheever indeed, who has closed right up on Pique. So Warwick 4th, Pique 5th, Cheever 6th and Prost 7th. And Cheever has closed up on Pique, and Pique is still harrying Derek Warwick, and still Warwick driving very, very smoothly, refusing to be flustered by the tremendous pressure from the Turbo Brabham and the Turbo Renaults. Casino Square once more. Over the bump. Down the hill. Lots of flame from the back of the Tolman as Warwick comes off the power into the old station hairpin once more, down into Portiere, onto the seafront, and on those white lines where the traffic normally follows the zebra crossings, that can be where it's very, very slippery. Monaco is bumpy because, of course, the roads are normal public town roads, and it can be very inconsistently slippery. One piece of road can give you a lot more grip than another. And that's a hand up for Cheever. Cheever in trouble. Cheever puts his hand up, his own teammate flashes by, back into 6th place, that's Alain Prost, and Eddie Cheever slows right down in the Turbo Renault, arm up, as we see Prost move back into 6th place. And there is Prost, round Rascasse, and Cheever has stopped. And that is Mark Surir in third place, and he is, no doubt about it, being caught by Derek Warwick, by Nelson Pique, and indeed by Alain Prost. So the battle for fourth place has become a battle for third, and car number 29, the pale coffee-coloured arrows of the Swiss driver Mark Surir, which has been holding a splendid third place for so much of this race, is now very much being caught. Down the hill goes Surir, past the tip-top bar. Mark Surir into the Mirabeau, in now to the old station hairpin. Warwick, Pique and Prost all follow him down the hill. A little twitch as Surir goes onto the seafront, bouncing across the bumps goes Warwick through the tunnel, and Warwick can now see his goal in front, and he has got a double problem because he's got to continue to drive defensively to ensure that the ever-waiting Nelson Pique doesn't sneak by, and at the same time he's got to attack and find a way past Mark Surir. So all the pressure from front and behind on Derek Warwick. What a wonderful drive the Hampshire driver is having in his first Monaco Grand Prix, and how well the Toleman is going. No sign yet, I hope I'm not speaking too early, of the unreliability that we've had so often from the little Toleman team, who are developing a very, very complicated car on a much smaller budget than is enjoyed by Renault and by Ferrari. This is lap 42 now. Very fast into Saint-Devote. The non-turbocharged Cosworth in Mark Surir's arrows, very much less powerful up this hill than the four-cylinder Hart turbo of the Toleman, or the four-cylinder BMW turbo of the Brabham, or indeed the V6 Renault turbo in Prost's Renault. Into Mirabeau. Out of Mirabeau goes Warwick. Into the old station hairpin by the Lowe's Hotel. Over the bumps, onto the seafront. Those curbs are very, very close for Derek Warwick there coming out. He's using every inch of the road. And perhaps the Arrows has pulled out a little bit more of an advantage now, and perhaps Pique is a little bit closer to Warwick. Again, the puffs of flame. Yes, Surir has shaken them off just a little bit. A great drive from the Swiss Mark Surir. It's the Arrows team, you remember, that Alan Jones had a drive for in the Long Beach race and again at the Race of Champions, but sadly Alan Jones has now gone back to Australia, and Chico Serra has retaken his place in the Arrows team. Serra still going in this race near the back of the field. We've got Riccardo Patrezi's Brabham in 7th place. Patrick Tambay, who's set fastest lap so far, is 8th with the sole surviving Ferrari. Look at those flames from the exhaust pipe of the turbo. Danny Sullivan is 9th in the Tyrrell. The other Tyrrell of Michele Alboreto has retired, and Mauro Baldi's Alfa is 10th. De Cesaris and the other Alfa has retired. As always, a race of attrition here at Monaco. Several accidents. Nigel Mansell is out with an accident. Alboreto is out. Winkelhock is out. Bazell is out. All of them with accidents. No damage to any of the drivers, but damage to the cars, because the slightest mistake, as always at Monaco, can tear off a wheel, can puncture a tyre, as we saw with René Arnoux. And it's a race which demands great stamina from the drivers, but also great accuracy. Surir through the chicane. Warwick on his tail. And Warwick closing a little bit again. And Pique perhaps falling back a little tiny bit. Clipping the apex goes Surir, a little shiver from his back wing as he bounces across the curb. And that little moment has allowed Warwick to get closer. Down into Rascasse. Hard round that tight hairpin, very, very close to the barriers. Into the next hairpin, onto the start-finish straight, a puff of oil smoke there from the Toleman, and 27 seconds the gap between Rosberg and Laffite, but the gap between Rosberg and third man Surir, this battle we're seeing, is now over a minute. So with the two Williamses leading, both of them can relax, because leader Rosberg is over a minute ahead of third man Mark Surir. And that's the battle that we've seen. Oh, a twitch from Surir over the bumps out of the Casino Square there. 41 seconds the gap between Surir and Laffite in second place. But Surir's not worried about that now. He's worried about the mirrors full of turbos that he's got. Prost a bit out of touch with Pique now, but Pique close to Warwick, Warwick close to Surir. And this must be the best Grand Prix we've seen the Swiss Mark Surir drive. A man who's twice badly broken his legs in head-on accidents, and both times has had a long, painful struggle back to fitness. A quietly spoken and ever-charming Swiss, driving as hard as he knows how, with the more powerful tailman of a very determined Derek Warwick right on his tail now. Now Warwick has got to start planning. Where can he find a route past? Because finding a way past a slower car at Montecarlo is always difficult. And if Surir can drive defensively and not make an error, it's going to be very, very hard for Warwick to find a way past. Into Saint-Devote, the Saint-Devote chicane, up the hill past Rosie's Bar. And Pique, content at the moment to bide his time, into the Casino Square, over the bump, down past the tip-top bar, into the Mirabeau, on the brakes, down the gearbox once again. It's quite common for the drivers to have blistered hands from the constant gear changes, changing gear sometimes every 3 or 4 seconds. Into the tunnel. This now the fastest part of the circuit. Into top gear just as they come to the exit of the tunnel. 165 miles an hour now, and then on the brakes. 4th gear, 3rd gear, into the chicane, back into 4th gear again. Then down to 3rd once more for the Tambay corner, and then into the tight new section run, the swimming pool. This part of the circuit built out into the sea a few years back. And then down to the Rascasse restaurant, hard right round the Rascasse. Again, this telltale smoke from the tailman's exhaust. I hope that doesn't presage any sort of mechanical problem. And Warwick very close again as they go up to Saint-Devote. Warwick very, very close that time, nudging at the back of the arrows. This is lap 46 now. Surir, Warwick and Pique. Very close, up the hill, over the brow, through the Massenet left-hander, past the windows of the Hotel de Paris, where it'll cost you £200 a night this weekend, and that's without your breakfast. Down the hill, past the big new block of flats at the Mirabeau, down to the Lowe's Hotel, where the old railway station was. That's the old station hairpin. Under the bridge, the new motorway bridge, bouncing over the curbs into the tunnel under the Lowe's Hotel. And Warwick a little bit further back this time, and that's where Pique starts to nibble. Surir having pulled out a little bit in the tunnel. They close up as they come to the chicane. And Surir never putting a wheel wrong. Surir driving a very mature race, just as is Warwick. Neither of these drivers with anything like the experience of the former world champion Nelson Piquet, but at the moment Piquet with his very powerful Brabham BMW doesn't seem to be able to do anything about the tailman. That's 21.5 seconds between the leader and the second man, Rosberg and Laffite, but a long way back. It's this battle for 3rd place that we're excited about. There is Rosberg. Rosberg smoothly on his way, clipping that curb very closely round the swimming pool. This is the 50th lap, 26 laps to go after this one, so Rosberg already 2/3 the way through the race. And Jacques Laffite still in second place. There he is, the dark green helmet, bouncing just like his teammate across that curb. Over the start-finish line goes Rosberg, up into Saint-Devote. It's Rosberg with the blue helmet, it's Laffite with the green one. And Rosberg, who won the World Championship last year on the strength of only one Grand Prix victory, that was the Swiss Grand Prix at Dijon. The man who has won the World Championship but has still only won one Grand Prix. Riccardo Patrese going very quickly, 1:27.9. He is in 7th place, so he's not even in the points yet. Remember, he had a pit stop earlier on, as did so many of the rest of the field, to change from wet weather tyres to dries. That's Danny Sullivan now, number 4, the green car, about to be lapped. Danny Sullivan is in 9th place, and the leading battle has now caught up to Sullivan. This could be very significant, because Surir may well get delayed by Sullivan, who's going more slowly, and this could possibly give Derek Warwick his chance to get up alongside. Warwick very close to Surir now as they come up to Saint-Avote, and Warwick's challenging, and they've collided! Surir in the barriers, Warwick off! Pique's gone through, Prost has gone through. I think Warwick may be restarting, but Surir's race is definitely run. The rear wheel, the rear left-hand wheel, very badly damaged on Surir's car. We're going to see it again. Now watch Warwick getting up alongside Surir as they come up into the braking area for Saint-Avote, but Warwick has nowhere to go. Warwick up alongside now, and as they approach Saint-Avote, Surir takes his line. Warwick hits the back left-hand wheel of Surir's car. Surir's front into the barriers. Surir bounces back across the road, backwards into the barrier very hard, and the Swiss is out. The Arrows that was third is out of the race. That's Pique squeezing through between the bits of debris, followed by Alain Prost in the Renault. Warwick has restarted, but I think that his race is probably also run. He's making his way slowly back to the pits, but Surir's car abandoned in the barriers at Saint-Avote. There is poor Marc Surir, very disappointed, no doubt. The Swiss driver walking home, little wave to the crowd there, a rueful smile, the crowd cheering him home. But what must surely have been Marc Surir's best race of his career, out. Derek Warwick also, I think, out, and we now see the battle for third place as it's become, because Danny Sullivan is still to be lapped by Nelson Piquet, number 5 in the Brabham, and Alain Prost, number 15 in the Renault. That's Elio De Angelis, who's also soon due to be lapped. Piquet goes past Sullivan. Pique is past Sullivan into Saint-Avote. That's where the accident happened just a couple of laps ago. And now Elio De Angelis in the turbo Renault-powered Lotus is also to be lapped. De Angelis keeping out of the way in the Massenet corner as Pique goes through, and indeed as Sullivan goes past. So Elio De Angelis slowing down a lot there. The order, therefore, on lap 53 of the 76, we now have a new third man, still the leader, Keke Rosberg, by almost a minute. It's not almost a minute, I'm sorry, but it's almost a minute back to the third man, which is Nelson Piquet. So Rosberg still looking very, very comfortable in the lead with his own teammate about 27 seconds down in second place. This man, third in the Brabham, Nelson Piquet. Fourth is now Alain Prost in the Turbo Renault. Into fifth place, we now have Riccardo Patrese, the man who's already set fastest lap. Riccardo Patrese, Piquet's teammate in the other Brabham. And sixth now is Patrick Tambay in the sole surviving Ferrari. Past the start-finish line, there goes the lapped Danny Sullivan. Sullivan doing a workmanlike job in his first Monaco Grand Prix, as we see the leader, Keke Rosberg, reeling off the laps very confidently indeed, and always with these ever-beckoning barriers as he comes up to start his 54th. And that's De Angelis in the pits. You saw him slowing. De Angelis getting another set of dry weather tyres in the Turbo Renault-powered Lotus. His teammate, Nigel Mansell, in the Cosworth-powered Lotus, has already retired after a lap 2 accident. And no sign of the Lotus leaving yet. There is a problem at the back of the car, we think. So, despite the tyre change, De Angelis out of the car, and the Lotus is out. De Angelis out of the race. No more Lotuses in the race. Still 2 Williamses in the race, and they're first and second. That's Rosberg down the hill into Portier. His crash helmet moving around in the cockpit. Witness to the bumps of Monaco. Witness also, surely, to the sort of fatigue that Keke Rosberg must now be feeling, as we said earlier, still suffering from the after effects of this nasty bout of hepatitis. And you wouldn't think that Rosberg wasn't 101% fit from the consistency with which he has reeled off the laps. I can see a Finnish flag waving in the crowd down there by the swimming pool every time Rosberg goes by. And we look back now for his teammate, which is the other Williams of number 2, Jacques Laffite. There it is, having just lapped Mauro Baldi, but Baldi's going by, and I think Jacques Laffite's in trouble. Mauro Baldi, who is right down the field and had been lapped. Yes, there's a problem for Jacques Laffite. Smoke from the back of the car, that could mean engine trouble. It could perhaps mean transmission trouble. The transmission takes such a beating here at Monaco. And Jacques Laffite has slowed right down and clearly is aiming for the pits. So that's a blow for the Williams team. And does that indeed mean that whatever the trouble is, yes, Laffite crossing his hands in despair, waving to his mechanics, saying, don't fuss, don't worry about tyre changes. Alan Chalice and the other mechanics looking at the back of the car, I would guess at transmission. Now, does that mean that leader Keke Rosberg could have a potential weakness in his gearbox? Anyway, Rosberg still the leader. We've now therefore got Pique in second place, Alain Prost in third, and now the man who was fourth, Riccardo Patrese in the other Brabham, has slowed, and number 27, Patrick Tambay, you see him now coming up to lap the arrows of Chico Serra, the Brazilian. Serra in 8th and last place, only 8 cars still running, but Patrick Tambay now moving into 4th with the Ferrari. So, a non-turbocharged Williams leads, a turbo Brabham is second, a turbo Renault is third, a turbo Ferrari is now 4th, and there is the second turbo Brabham. It's Patrese in the pits, and it looks like a tyre and petrol stop. What we've been seeing from so many teams, particularly Brabham this year, no sophisticated refuelling equipment allowed in the pits at Monaco, so everybody's tried to do the race on full distance, but Patrese has come in for tyres and for fuel, and he's back in the race. Here now, the race leader. Lap 64, 12 laps to go. Race leader Keke Rosberg has got himself a bit stuck behind Danny Sullivan's Tyrrell. Danny Sullivan going a lot slower than Rosberg, but Rosberg trying to find a way past Sullivan. Second man, Nelson Piquet, there's the pit signal, 49.5 seconds is the gap from the leader back to Piquet. So that's a pretty comfortable lead with now 11 laps left to go, but certainly Rosberg won't want it to get any closer. He knows that Piquet is going quickly, and he's going to want to find a way past Danny Sullivan. Round the Massenet left-hand curve, past the jewellery shop, between the Hotel de Paris and the casino, down the hill to the Mirabeau, and you can see the problem of overtaking here at Montecarlo. It's so difficult to find a way past if the man in front of you doesn't want to make it easy for you. Danny Sullivan, incidentally, all on his own. Sullivan is now in 5th place, but he's not threatened by anybody at all, and he certainly could make it easier for Rosberg to get by. Down onto the waterfront, past the frogmen. There are always frogmen waiting in a boat in case anybody has an accident which puts them in the water. It has happened. It happened to Alberto Ascari, very famous accident in the 50s. And there is always a boat by the chicane exit with frogmen ready to dive in case a car and its driver goes into the sea. Sullivan into Rascasse, Rosberg following every move. Sullivan now 2 laps adrift. Once more past the pits, 47.2 is the gap that time. as they start their 66th of 76 laps. 10 laps to go after this one. Up the hill past Rosie's Bar. And still Rosberg has not been able to get past Danny Sullivan. Into the Casino Square once more. And let's hope that Rosberg doesn't feel tempted to try anything rash to get past the American. He knows that a false move now with a nice comfortable lead could put him into the barriers, and that is a rather slow Riccardo Patrese. Patrese, after his pit stop, with his extra fuel, with his fresh tyres, Tambay laps him. Still the leader battling to go past. Now he does it. In the tunnel. Finally, Rosberg gets by, but we saw a glimpse there of Riccardo Patrese, I think, stopping. So the other Brabham's race is run. One Williams left, one Brabham left, one Renault left, one Ferrari left, one Tyrrell left, one Arrows left. And as always, the cruel race of Monaco has been as tough as ever. Down through the gearbox, up through the gearbox again, goes Rosberg, leaving Danny Sullivan behind now. So, the order still Rosberg the leader, Pique in second place. As they start their 67th lap, there is Pique in second place. And Prost is quite close in third place. Through the tunnel, Alain Prost is getting close again to Nelson Pique. Could we have a battle for second place on our hands in the very closing stages of this race? Prost, who fell right back to 7th place behind his own teammate Cheever at one point. Prost is now putting on a late race spurt, and Prost is closing on Nelson Pique. Pique has seen his own teammate stop just a few laps ago, and Prost now attacking from behind. This is lap 67. Through the old gasworks hairpin, over the start-finish line goes Pique. There we start the stopwatch. There we stop it, and the gap, I think, is coming down between the two on our unofficial hand timing here. The gap closing between second man Pique and third man Alain Prost. Now on lap 68 of the 76. Can Pique respond to the challenge, or will we see a late change of second place? And remember that Monaco, always a race of changing fortunes. It was here last year that the race changed totally because of a shower of rain in the very closing laps, and it was Riccardo Patrese who came out a surprise winner despite a spin. It was Alain Prost who had a comfortable lead. They're passing the parked Brabham of Patrese, who stopped just at the entrance to the tunnel, put his car neatly out of the way against the barriers. It was Patrese who won last year after Pironi stopped in the tunnel, after Prost crashed when leading comfortably, Derek Daly crashed, and a shower of rain caught several people out. It was the rain, of course, at the beginning of this race. It now looks settled above, although still jolly cold for Montecarlo in late May. This is lap 74, and he's got 2 laps to go after this one. Past the Hotel de Paris, past the Casino Gardens, down the hill past the Tip Top and Rampoldi's restaurant, into the Mirabeau hairpin, down past the Lowe's Hotel where the station used to be, bottom gear up into second gear, turning into the right-hander under the motorway bridge, bouncing over the bumps and back into the tunnel past Patrese's stricken Brabham, into the darkness from the light, into top gear up to 165 miles an hour as he bursts onto the seafront. Keke Rosberg down the gearbox again, into the chicane, out of the chicane, down to the Tabac corner. There's no tobacconist shop there anymore, but that's where it used to be. Into the swimming pool, once again clipping that curb on the apex, past the swimming pool, under the Agit Bridge, and past the Rascasse restaurant. Up to the final hairpin before the start-finish line. 29.3 is now the pit signal. 29.3 that gap has come down to. But with 2 laps now left to go, this is lap 75, 2 laps including this one. An impossible task for Nelson Pique, and after a wonderful race, where he hasn't yet put a wheel wrong, the Finnish driver, the world champion Keke Rosberg, just has to drive it on the island, keep it straight over the bumps, and drive it home to what should be his first Monaco Grand Prix win and his second ever Grand Prix win. Up through the gearbox once more, out of the Lowe's hairpin. Down into the tunnel once more, and you see his crash helmet moving in the cockpit. That is when the neck muscles are becoming very, very tired from the constant G-forces of braking, acceleration and cornering. For the penultimate time, down into the chicane goes Keke Rosberg and the Williams. And the 1-2 that Frank Williams wanted not to be after Laffite's retirement, we have confirmation now it was transmission trouble for Jacques Laffite. But Frank Williams, impassive-faced as ever, sitting in the Williams pit. The pit signals are going to come out again for Keke Rosberg as he comes into the final hairpin. 28.9 L1, which means 1 lap to go. The man with the checkered flag holds up one finger into the Sainte Devote chicane, which caught out Derek Warwick and Mark Surir for the last time, up the hill past Rosie's Bar. Into the Massenet left-hander. Into the Casino Square, cut the apex, slide out to the outside of the road, over the bump, down the hill past the Rampoldis and the tip-top, down the gearbox again, out of the Mirabeau hairpin, down into bottom gear for the station hairpin, up through the gearbox, second gear now, cocking a wheel over the curb, under the Portière Bridge, into the tunnel for the last time. Rosberg driving it home. Down into top gear, then brakes, fourth gear, third gear, into the chicane, up into fourth gear again, down towards Tambay, over to the right of the road, turn it into Tambay. Now the swimming pool section. 1 apex, 2 apexes, 3 apexes, and 4. Out of the swimming pool complex for the last time. The left-hander that leads to Rascasse. Bottom gear for Rascasse. Squirted up to the final hairpin. The checkered flag is ready. Keke Rosberg is going to win the most grueling Grand Prix of all. The Union Jack, the Saudi flag from the Williams pit. And there's the flag that matters, the checkered flag for Keke Rosberg. Keke Rosberg wins the Monaco Grand Prix. A wonderful drive. He led from lap 2 to the finish. He gambled on the road staying dry. He made a wonderful start on a wet road on slick tyres, came through to second place from 5th position on the grid, and then took the lead from Alain Prost and simply drove away from everybody. There is the third man, Alain Prost, because we've already had Nelson Pique take the flag in second place. Nelson Pique for Brabham is second. Alain Prost is third for Renault. All the flags as he goes through the chicane on his slowing down lap. Patrick Tambay is fourth, a minute behind the leader. Danny Sullivan takes 5th place, 2 laps down. Mauro Baldi takes 6th place, 2 laps down. So championship points for Sullivan and Baldi, but 9 richly deserved points for the man who has been feeling really very unwell this week from his hepatitis. There, the Williams team jumping up and down in delight on the road. And there are the championship points, with Pique moving into first place, 2 points ahead of Prost, with Tambay in third place, and Rosberg has 14 points despite losing the 6 points that he earned in Brazil, and that appeal has now been heard. And on to the most glamorous of all victory rostrums, shaking hands with Prince Rainier. The winner, Keke Rosberg, gets the silver cup. Nearest the camera in the white is Nelson Pique, with Alain Prost, the third man, standing behind him. The laurel wreath for Keke Rosberg. Alain Prost gets a shake of the hands, a bow from Nelson Pique to Prince Rainier and his family, and Rosberg, a tired man, but no doubt a very happy one. The job well done for Rosberg. A great Monaco Grand Prix, now just 1 week away. We're in Belgium, the new Spa circuit for the Belgian Grand Prix.